Hi, my name is Austin Ouyang. I'm a staff software engineer here on the monitoring platform and experience team at LinkedIn. Today, we're going to go over what to expect in one of our technical phone screens, as well as how you can better prepare yourself. This interview module will be testing your ability to write some simple programs focusing on the selection of various data structures and algorithms. It will also assess your ability to make some simple HTTP requests, file system processing, and text parsing. We'll be evaluating your explanation of your thought process and implementation of the solutions in code. As any interview goes, remember it's a two-way communication. Both parties need to agree on the problem and solution we're trying to solve. Be sure to talk to your interviewer throughout the entire process. This helps the interviewer keep track of where you are in your thought process and potentially help direct you from an incorrect solution. Here are a few tips to use during an interview. Ask clarifying questions instead of making assumptions. Before starting on your implementation, be clear on the requirements. Write out some examples to show that you understand the problem. These would effectively become your test cases. Also, describe your high-level approach first before implementing anything. When choosing a combination of data structures and algorithms, do explain the trade-offs in space and time, as these may impact the final solution. Verbalize your thoughts out loud while you're solving a problem. Our interviewers want to understand your thought process and how you go about solving a problem. By thinking out loud, you provide the interviewer with the opportunity to give you hints and steer you in the right direction. Clear technical communication is key here. Give your interviewer an idea of what they should expect before jumping into writing the solution. You will be assessed on both speed as well as the quality of the solution. You should try to come up with a brute force solution first, as it shows the interviewer that you understand the problem and can optimize and clean up the code later. Before going into this interview, you should decide which programming language you'll be coding in. Though you may know several programming languages, be sure to pick the language that you're most comfortable with. During an interview, you want to be focusing on the problem at hand and less on the syntax of the language you're solving the problem in. There are times the coding problem can seem quite intractable. Usually, these problems are composed of several smaller but simpler problems. Do your best to identify those up front. When you do, you may not know how to implement all of these subproblems, but it's totally fine to abstract these problems out into unimplemented functions, which can be implemented later on. Just be sure to let your interviewer know, and they can be revisited. When practicing coding online, a good approach would be to find problems online, reading through them, and talking about what you would attempt to do without coding the solution. Decide what sort of data structures you would use for the problem and how you plan to work with them. This is a great way to brainstorm possible solutions without having the pressure of having to implement them immediately. For any of the online coding practice problems, another exercise would be to use your favorite editor and solve the problems there instead. This breaks down the barrier of getting used to a new environment and helps you focus more on the problem-solving process. A few days before the interview, if you have time, solve a few easier problems that you may have even done before. This is a great way to boost your confidence before going into an interview. Something else you can do is practice with someone. A friend could ask you a coding question, and you go through the interview process as though it were a real one. You may not get the same feedback as you would in a real interview, but it's a decent way to mimic the process. And lastly, stay positive and be patient. None of this is easy, but everyone gets better through practice. Remember, everyone learns at different rates, and do what works best for you. Good luck, and I hope to see you join us at LinkedIn.